Morning, we can make a start as we have this opportunity to be together as a gathering of those online and in person who are going to hear from two more of our Vestry candidates. Sadly, we will not hear from Teresa Womble, who is at home with COVID, and so she has done the noble thing and stayed at home. But her profile for her candidacy is found in the Vestry candidate profiles that are available online. If you click on your last headlines and happenings, you'll find a link to it. And if you click on the website and go along, you'll see that as well. But her biography says this: I joined St. James with my husband, Greg, in the fall of 2021, shortly after we relocated to Lancaster for my new position as Vice President, Investor Relations and Corporate Communications at Armstrong World Industries. St. James was an easy choice for several reasons. We live a block away. We find the liturgy and music of the service uplifting, and we know that there are many opportunities for this parish to engage and uplift our diverse communities. Although only a member for a relatively short time, I am delighted to be asked to run for vestry. My husband and I came to the Episcopal Church after we had children and were seeking common ground between the religious denominations of our upbringing. He, a Catholic, and I, a Lutheran. The decision invigorated me as I found the perfect balance of ritual, spiritual, and intellectual. We joined our first Episcopal Church 25 years ago in Memphis and have remained with it across 5 relocations. Over the years, I have served on 2 vestries, taught taught Children's Chapel, Sunday School, and Adult Forums, where a Princeton PhD in Middle East and Islamic history comes in handy, and led fundraising events. All 3 of our children have been baptized and confirmed in the Episcopal Church. Our eldest served as a diocesan peer youth counselor in Kansas. I am confident that should I be elected, I can use these experiences to support the efforts of St. James Vestry to build on our strengths as we continue to navigate our way through and out of the pandemic. The future is very bright for this parish, and I would be most honored to help further amplify its light. So thank you, Teresa, very much for being here in spirit, for being at home looking after yourself, and for standing and sharing your ministry and vision for it as a candidate for vestry, and our delight in you as a leader of this congregation. So it is that next we will hear from Leslie Mann via a video recording that she was able to make when she realized that she was not able to come this Sunday either. And so Sipawa is going to screen share and pin for all so that when we start to play, I'll spin it so that you can see it, but everybody who's online and in the recording will be able to see her as she is. Online, at least.
Good morning, St. James. My name is Leslie Mann, and I want to ask for your vote for the vestry. St. James is a vibrant and beautiful church. The clergy is smart and talented, and the music is uplifting. I moved to Lancaster 12 years ago and began attending St. James a couple years after that. I was raised Episcopalian in Sewanee, Tennessee, where my parents were on the faculty of the Episcopal University there. I attended a small Episcopal high school in Sewanee and then went on to attend Bard College in upstate New York, which also happens to be Episcopal. I spent 15 years in New York City working as an art director for national brands, including Oprah, Good Housekeeping, and New York Magazine. I moved to Lancaster in 2010 after meeting my husband, George Mann, whose family has been rooted in Lancaster for many generations and who owns and operates a farm in Manor Township. We met on a canoe trip fundraiser for the Brandywine River Conservancy. We're married, and our son Isaac was born in 2011. Lancaster has been a happy, healthy, and safe place for us to raise our son, and being members of St. James has contributed so much to our quality of life here. I so appreciate how my family has been welcomed and included at St. James. For example, my 11-year-old son has been invited to become an acolyte, has participated in the Christmas pageant, and my husband and I have had the opportunity to serve as readers at the service. We're acolyte directors and participate in the serving of communion. I didn't realize how moving the experience of taking part in the service would be to me. It was such a pleasant surprise. To connect with a group of people coming together to pray is when people are at their most human and vulnerable. It's a connected experience, something I know many of us, including me, have needed, and it's been heightened in the aftermath of the pandemic. The pandemic has changed the way people work and interact, and this is why I want to serve on the Vestry. I want to contribute and promote the in-person experience of participating and attending church in a time when our society has become increasingly disconnected. I want to help in whatever way I can to promote the healing message of Christianity and assist St. James in growing its congregation. I can bring my experience as a creative leader at high-profile brands and my experience working in collaborative, fast-paced environments to the position. I have a deep understanding of typography, photography, and conceptual design. I can bring my design perspective to meet and exceed the marketing and design objectives at St. James. Thank you.
All of these activities and abilities to connect were undreamt of by me pre-pandemic, but great to be able to have online and in-person participation, recorded commitments for us all, as well as in-person presentation, again, this week by David Miller, who is going to be able to share something of his candidacy as well as himself for us now.
Thank you, Father David. My name is David Miller. I know a lot of you, and I'm proud to stand for Vestry. I'm honored to be asked to do that. I'll just give you, for those of you who don't know me, a brief history of my life. Hopefully it'll be very brief, but I was born and raised in Colorado. And part of my heart is still in Colorado. My parents are there, and I love the state. And so that might bring you to ask the question, why are you in Pennsylvania then? Well, I went to school at Wheaton College, and there I met my wife, Debbie, who is from Pennsylvania. Sorry. So we actually lived for a while in Colorado and had 4 kids, 2 sets of twins, 2 boys and 2 girls, 17 months apart. And I bring that up because I believe some of the skills I acquired raising 4 children so close in age, such as calming temper tantrums and mediating between warring factions, I think might be helpful in Vestry. I don't know. But no.
You can change a diaper with one eye open too. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that will come in handy or not. But then we moved here in 1997, and soon after that I began working in the social services. I worked for Water Street Mission and other social services in the area with the homeless, people in addiction, people with mental health issues. And now I'm working at the Drug and Alcohol Commission in Lancaster, helping to fund treatment for those that cannot afford it. And my heart is really in the city. We moved into Lancaster in 2011, live on South End, just a couple of blocks away. So we love to walk to church. And both Debbie and I have a heart for the people of the city and the people of this parish. And so we joined a church in the city because we wanted to go somewhere that was close to the people we were involved with. And St. James happened to be the perfect fit. I've been a part of many different faith communities in my life. I was born and raised in Colorado in a Quaker church. Since we've been here, we were part of a Brethren in Christ church, a Mennonite church, but now we're firmly rooted at St. James, having joined in 2015. What attracted us was the intentionality of the worship, the liturgy, radical hospitality, and the impact that the parish has on the community at St. James. I've been involved in the Mission and Justice Committee. I'm a Eucharistic minister and visitor, and I'm active in our 11th Steps ministry, our addiction and recovery ministry here at the church. Vestry wasn't really on my radar when I was asked, but it really, I'm happy to be a part of what's happening and what is in the future for the church. I'm just happy with the way that the church balances the priorities of knowing God intimately and serving the community. And I hope to help continue that because both of those are vital parts of my spirituality. I have connections with lots of different organizations in the city, so I think that will be helpful as we go forward in achieving those goals of knowing God and serving the community. And I hope to help continue the legacy of radical hospitality, which attracted Debbie and I 8 years ago. And I also want to mention that Debbie was on the Vestry from 2017 to 2020. So I do have a little bit of an idea of what I'm getting into. But I just appreciate you allowing me to speak this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David, so much. And that ability of all three of those voices this morning, Teresa Womble and Leslie Mann and David Miller, to be able to share and stand and be better known and know all of us better by their offering of themselves in this leadership role of standing for Vestry and all those roles that they have before and after Sunday's election. I want to take a couple of minutes now to answer any questions or reflections that you have about the Vestry election process or the annual meeting, or what it is that we are going to be doing in or might be considering doing in the coming year. That's both to get some of the Q&A of next Sunday's annual meeting started and be able also, if there's a few minutes at the end, to reflect a bit on the common cup and discernment of the distribution of the elements of Holy Communion that were in this post-COVID, or as I've started calling it, peri-COVID world of ours. Any reflections or questions around the governance direction of St. James or its needs or yours as we have a few minutes together?
In the spirit of, is this on? In the spirit of justice and mercy and the urban well, which has filled me up and tied me even more deeply to St. James. I would like to see St. James take an even deeper and more expanding role in helping people to understand each other. There's a line in the two Avatar movies that goes, "I see you." And I've interpreted that as, I see your heart and I see what drives you. And I also believe that all healing starts locally. We may be focused internationally, but our focus needs to be here locally. And I know St. James already plays a strong role in that. I'd like to see it even stronger.
And when you see or envision that, what does it look like, or what has it looked like for you in the last year, or what might it look more like for us in the coming year?
Well, I've always considered myself to be a moderate, intellectually, spiritually, and politically, which of course often has either side saying, "Would you please declare a position to me?" And I like to say, well, I'd like to hear what all sides have to say, even though some of it might be just very off-putting. I need to see your heart. And I would like to see St. James take it beyond what we're experiencing in the urban well within our own group into the community and in partnership with the other faith groups that we've already started, but to be much more deliberate in trying to bring people together of very different thoughts and beliefs, not just faiths, but thoughts and beliefs. I know that that's a tricky journey to go on, but I think it's so necessary for us as a community, as a nation, and as a world.
That desire of Timmy's to say, how do we see each other better? How do we open our eyes to more, to see more of our neighbors as ourselves? And how do we have that awakening that we can see within ourselves more deeply in our mind's eye, as well as with our whole heart? That sense of the kingdom of God being both within us and all around us. And I think it's an exciting call, that one. And it's at the heart of where I would like us to go in the next 5 years as we come to a new horizon of being church in the world. Not just church for ourselves. We are changed in that pandemic. We are wounded in some new ways, and that wound, which is the heart, the root of the word vulnerable, it means woundedness. The more we can share the woundedness of the world and connect it with the woundedness of our lives, that's where this radical hospitality and compassion really makes its transforming impact on us all. So part of what we will have to learn is that when we pray here, that is not an activity that is instead of action from here. It is the necessary preface to it. It's so that we can act with a deeper understanding and spirituality and commitment that begins with our own inner healing, so that we go out, as Henry Nouwen, the great Roman Catholic mystic, says, go out into the world as wounded healers. That's our calling. Christ's resurrection, the marks are on his hands and his feet. He remains wounded as a healer. The marks of what he suffered are in his body. On the back of the order of service today, the one thing that didn't get into, or one of the things that didn't get into that wonderful maroon booklet of what we're doing in the coming year is the day on Saturday, February 15th, when we will be able to go in a wonderful coach trip to Baltimore, to the Walters Collection, to explore the art, spirituality of India, come back and enjoy the food and music of India in the sitar at Taj Mahal restaurant. You can do either or both of those things by signing up for them. And then the Mercy Seminar unfolds after that on Thursday evenings for 6 weeks, so that we do explore Hinduism, which I have to say is one of the strangest things, that if somebody came to me with that idea 4 or 5 years ago, or even 2 or 3 years ago, I think we should study Hinduism for 6 weeks at St. James. I would have been like, yeah, if we had unlimited time, if we had nothing else more pressing to do to help form and deepen our understanding of Christianity, the contemplative path, the activism and engagement that we need. But I have come to a much deeper understanding of exactly what Timmy is talking about through the study of Judaism initially, these pilgrimages to places near and far, as well as the study of Islam, last year the study of Buddhism, from which I have gained so much understanding. And I'm delighted that on April 22nd, some months ago, the South Asian community members of the South Asian community in Lancaster are going to be here to help lead a retreat that takes the yoga that we're doing in the yoga studio, lower level in this building, with Roberta, with our other teachers, with Kate Brossman, who's now the executive director of the Urban Well, and connect and combine these things that the world does very well in keeping apart, in seeing through a secular or exercise lens, but less well in connecting it with the altar of our church and the altar of our hearts. And so as we invite ourselves to find a deeper relationship with the world outside us and inside us, we become better neighbors of ourselves and of the world. So thank you for that vision and invitation.
So I'm going to tie together what Timmy said and this advertisement to offer you a very interesting fact. Now, I can only speak for myself as a yoga teacher, but I make a big deal out of saying yoga is an exercise to me. It's a lifestyle. And I'm highly trained in classical yoga. I use Sanskrit for poses. So, there it is. I talk about Hindu gods. I always meditate, and always, all of us yoga teachers, we breathe together, which brings us together. Here's the opportunity and the fact. Almost never in the mindful yoga classes that I've been teaching for a little while, do we see a person who is a member of St. James. They walk down the street, they see the sign, they come in from the community. And those are primarily, and I think Kate will back me up, those are, at least in the class I see, they've come in off the street. They see mindful yoga. They say, oh, the first class is free. Is that right? So my little crusade is, let's get some people from St. James in there and breathe together, and hum together and stretch together. And we're all pretty highly trained teachers. So you don't have to be afraid. Nobody's looking at you, right? Everybody's kind of doing their own thing. We have lots of props and we have well-educated teachers. So there's a chance to get together with the community from our own space.
Thank you, Roberta. And as we continue to offer questions or reflections, it's really a great time to be able to take this space that is so richly shared and led by Randall Zachman in those forum discussions that he and Mother Shana are designing for us in those semesters, as well as the fellowship forums of just getting to know each other over coffee, as well as these differently themed and organized forum series. Glenn, a great and important question about what we're going to be doing with that library. And that is first and foremost a task that Vestry will address very early on, creating that working group that is going to dig down into the opportunity first to discern some of what we need here. Secondly, to discern what the community around us needs here. And third, how we might put that together in a way and with collaborating partners that could make it financially feasible and transformational for us in our own ministry and mission here. And if those elements can come into place for a working group of people who are skilled at thinking deeply about such things, and through the dialogue with Vestry, that will come back here as an opportunity for us to continue to take more soundings and then determine what the shape of that adjacent property to us could look like if it was an integrated or permeable boundary that is separating what we have done historically here and what that library has done historically there. You may or may not know how instrumental St. James was in establishing the library here. And so the foundations and shared commitment and giving have always been very deep with our neighbor, and I hope long continue with the library in its new location, which is very exciting for them and for the whole city. So that working group will soon be formed. It will get to its work, both because the investor group who will acquire the property when the library has moved from it. My understanding is that the investor group only begins to purchase the site after the library has moved to its location. And so as that happens, the real discernment will begin really right on those heels. As any of you know who've tried to buy or sell or move a house, timeframes are good to have, and of course they change on a regular basis. And so I think their original timeframe was to have moved in the fall. I know the second timeframe was the spring. And when I pop my head into the library, it looks like it's not quite ready in the next few months to bring across the books and the people just yet. So I don't know, but I expect that perhaps if not in the second quarter, as was intended, in the third quarter, and of course, maybe the fourth. Very good question. Some may not even know that as you go up Marion Street towards Musser Park, on the left-hand side is a warehouse that St. James bought in the summer of 2008. And when I there was a whole question of should David sign the lease agreement or the purchase agreement or not, because I hadn't even started. I just moved into the rectory with Cordelia and Theo, and I said, I'll sign it if I can take credit for it if it goes well. And if it doesn't go well, I can say that I didn't know anything or have anything to do with this purchase. And on that very clever piece of negotiation, I remember, I think in my sweatpants, going to Barley Snyder and signing the document, the purchase agreement for the warehouse. So all of these years later, and that's a great example of what discernment looks like and how there is this extraordinary opportunity of a landlocked parish to be able to get relatively cheaply some working space and some new ministry space. For what, the people of God would sensibly ask. We don't know, says the leadership of the parish. But what we do know is that we will be able, with this opportunity, to think in a different way about our block, our neighborhood, our ministry, our people, and our community. And through all of that time, from 2008 until now, that has been a fascinating journey of use in varieties of ways. We certainly, the one thing that I thought would have been the most boring use of the building and the sort of least engaging is as a warehouse. As it turns out, we couldn't have done any of the capital campaign renovation projects that we've done on this campus and continue to act as a campus. We have three capital projects since we bought that warehouse. And it has been what architects call swing space, or people in the construction industry, someplace that you can put a lot of stuff and maintain the continuity of your business, even though you're under construction at the same time. So little did we know that that was what was going to be sort of a primary use of the building, but it has been a ministry saver every year. It's now almost purchased outright, and needless to say, property values in the city have gone up very well. I remind people that we sold stock from the Board of Endowment trustee funds in the early summer of 2000 and spring of 2008 in order to buy it in the summer. And of course, just before the markets corrected and the recession began, we had come out of equities, gone into real estate. And so when you think of what happens with a diversified portfolio of real estate, stock sold high and real estate bought low, there's a whole nother story behind the story that's very useful in the warehouse. And that is because typical of Jean and Vestry, Board of Endowment trustees and finance committees through the 15 years that I've been here and the 100 years before I got here, great care and attention has been taken of the assets, of the heritage, and of the patrimony, both real and financial, in this parish and all of your giving. So my great thanks for that question, and is a good example for us of really discerning wisely and using efficiently the assets that we are very blessed to be able to have.